I'm Marla Kelly, and I'm here to talk with you today about the energy and the astrology of March. If you would like a personal reading with me or you want to know more about me, my website is marlakelly.com, and I will link to that in the comments. Okay, so what's going on in March? Well, I think where I'd like to start is talking about the Black Moon Lilith energy. Now, I've been talking about this for a couple months, and it really began to get intense around the winter solstice. But truly, this energy that we're dealing with regarding Lilith goes back to August 2018. And at that time, the energy of Lilith came to me with a message. And I wrote an article about what I had received. And she had told me that she was ready to let go of this ancient wound of abandonment. And this is the divine feminine's wound of abandonment, but the divine masculine is dealing with this in their own way. You know, Lilith felt rejected by Adam and by God, but if we look at it from a different perspective, then perhaps Adam also felt rejected by Lilith, and there was this miscommunication, misconnection between them that led to this feeling of separation. So since 2018, we've been working a lot on healing this abandonment wound. Remember last year I talked a lot about opening our hearts to a new level. And in order to really open your heart, you have to start letting go of this feeling of separation. So now with Lilith on Chiron and squaring the nodes, we're coming to a conclusion of this energy. Now that doesn't mean that we've all totally healed our wound of abandonment, but it does mean that the divine feminine is reaching a milestone point. And I talked about this in the last two Twin Flame Tarot readings I did. I'm pretty sure that this energy of the divine feminine is ready to advance to the next stage. And really this is for all of us, you know, because the divine feminine lives in all of us. So everybody on the planet is healing this wound in one respect or another. The fact that Chiron and Lilith are squaring the nodes are really making this aspect multidimensional. And whether or not you realize it, the work that we're doing, the healing we're doing, is collapsing a lot of timelines. And that is what is helping us elevate. So one of the ways that I see this really shifting our energy, besides being more open-hearted, is we're becoming more compassionate, starting with ourselves. And, you know, last month I was feeling the energy of Kuan Yin very strongly, and even still this month. And it's just a lot of compassion for self. Now, in that article I wrote, one of the things that came through was that forgiveness was a part of the process. It isn't so much that we even need to forgive each other, because that can be challenging for many. We really just need to work on forgiving ourselves, as this will open the door within us to love and compassion for all. Otherwise, we're projecting our pain and our fears onto others, including those we love, and then rejecting them through the reflection of that pain. It's all an inner journey to heal ourselves. And this is where the divine feminine's milestone is happening, because like this energy of self-love, I feel just like flooding through so many people at this time. And you see a lot of people talking about, nurturing the self, and a lot of things having to do with our physical appearance, accepting our physical appearance the way it is, especially for those souls in a female body. There's a lot of patriarchal energy around how a woman should look and how we should dress and what body type we should have. And all of that prevents us from being our true authentic selves. And, let's be fair, it does affect men as well. And the more we I don't know how do I want to say this? More and more, it's affecting men more and more. So maybe before, a couple hundred years ago, it wasn't that important. But today, like, even men are held to this very high standard as far as physical appearance can be. And that's just one aspect of it. But self-acceptance, and then that translates into allowing our true self, our soul light, to shine freer. Right now, Lilith and Chiron are on the 4th degree of Aries. And the Sabian symbol for that is a white triangle is seen. It has golden wings. And that Sabian has to do with the energy of union, because that triangle represents the masculine, the feminine, and the connection to source. So as you clear abandonment, you let go of the separation, you move into unity consciousness. But it's also about transcendence and the ascension process, elevating our perception. And with this energy, there's this explosion of creativity that's happening as well. And that is, especially throughout the month of March, we're feeling this energy of manifestation. So after the Virgo full moon, Chiron and Lilith stay together to the 5th degree, and then around the time of the equinox, they begin separating, and they begin separating from the square with the nodal axis too. So there's things coming into resolution. And this Lilith energy is also affecting us now that's one of the ways that the fears are coming through. So really since the winter solstice, but in February it was really intense with Mercury Retrograde. The fears coming up for clearing. And the more balanced you are, the more you're seeing that you can really clear the fears very rapidly. Sometimes in a few hours, definitely less than a day, the fear comes up and then you're moving through it. So that's a really exciting shift for us as well. So the Virgo full moon is on March 9th. That's when Chiron and Lilith make that 4-degree conjunction on that Sabian. And what's interesting is that the new moon is going to be on the 4th degree of Aries at the end of the month on March 24th. So that Sabian is again being activated by the sun and the moon. And that's also an indication that there's this new beginning happening. There's this deeper connection to our soul and to the feeling of unity with all that is. We can see that has our connection with source. If we look at that Sabian once again has the triangle and the top part of the triangle being source, then we're feeling that connection to source. And when we feel that abandonment, it's really feeling abandoned by source. That is the true trigger of that, and we project it onto other people. But the more that we love ourselves and the more that we can turn within for our own love and validation, the more that frees up our relationships, the more we can move through relationships without attachment and really move through life without attachment. And that is what brings us into that state of balance, that union of the masculine and feminine within. So on March 9th, when we have this Virgo full moon, I feel like that's really playing into this energy of caring for the self and self-love. The moon is in Virgo, as I said, and Virgo, Virgo is about discernment, and sometimes that discernment goes too far and it turns into criticism. And the way that criticism plays out the most is through self-criticism. Now, often we project that, yes, but we also turn that criticism within, that self-judgment within, and we can really be brutal with ourselves. And so with this full moon, there's some letting go of that. When it comes to appearance again, Virgo rules how we care for ourselves, how we feed ourselves, how we care for our body. It has to do with physical exercise. So again, there can be extremes in that. And the full moon is helping us to find balance. When we love and accept ourselves, we don't need to have these extremes with our bodies. For example, like extreme dieting or extreme exercise in order to maintain some particular standard. So the sun is in Pisces, and that's bringing in the opposite sign. The sun is also conjunct Neptune, so this is like a double whammy of the Pisces energy. And what that does is the opposition of the Pisces energy brings in forgiveness. It brings in healing. The Pisces energy says, we don't have to be so hard on ourselves, because the Pisces energy sees deeper. It sees into the soul. So it's recognizing we are a soul. We are not this physical vessel. We are not our ego. We are something much deeper than that. And with that knowledge and acceptance comes a new level of love and forgiveness for the self, and allowing that soul light to shine through. Now, Virgo also has to do with discernment. And of course, 2020 is the year of truth. And Virgo is a sign that's going to help us get to that truth. So when we incorporate the Pisces energy, the spiritual energy, we can look to our intuition. We can look to the guidance of our heart to get to truth. And we're so bombarded by information in today's world. Being able to discern through all that information becomes an incredible chore. And it's, again, tuning into the heart. Now, some things, yes, you need to check to make sure this is something true that you see on the internet or social media. But some things also you feel through your heart. For example, the truth of a person that you're speaking with. Those kinds of things can be felt through our heart and through our inner guidance. The moon is trining all the planets in Capricorn. Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, Mars is going to be in Capricorn as well. And those planets in their position is triggering as well a lot of this truth, energy, and discernment. And what I'm getting with that Capricorn energy, Saturn conjuncted with Pluto first. And that was clearing out fears that were preventing us from seeing the truth. So that now when Jupiter comes and makes his conjunction with Pluto, we're better able to see the truth or discern the truth. Sometimes our self-judgment, our negative thought patterns, our ego, those things can all prevent us from seeing the truth. Because, for example, like with the ego doesn't want to be wrong. So the ego is going to want to see that which agrees with it has truth more easily than that which does not agree with it. So all of these things, this clearing energy, are bringing us deeper into alignment with our ability and desire to see truth without being triggered by the truth if, for example, it doesn't agree with us. And in that sense, we achieve balance. Balance is very important because, has within, so without. If you're full of chaos within yourself, then you're going to see nothing but chaos outside of yourself. And then it becomes very hard to discern what truth is from that mental state. So yeah, I think like how the planets, and those 3 planets are breaking down the walls and the barriers to truth and to true authority and to us stepping into our power. And there's definitely, a process that the universe has planned to help us with that. Also, what I'm feeling in that energy now is has more and more people become balanced. There's another level of truth that's seen too. I see it a lot in people when they're ascending and going through the awakening process. There's a time where we really focus on the light, and we kind of block out darkness, or it's kind of hard to explain because, of course, at that same time that we're taking on more light, we're clearing shadow and stuff, but there may be things in the world that you need to separate yourself from. For example, you may need to separate yourself from the news, or there's a lot of dark things going on in the world. And for a time when you're ascending, you kind of don't focus on that because you're focusing on the light. But then when you reach a certain level of balance, then you begin to bring that darkness back in, or you begin to become more aware of it. You begin to acknowledge it. Because in that balanced state, there's less judgment, or there's no judgment. There's just an acceptance that the opposite of light is dark. The light exists and the dark exists. And you begin to work through and balance that light and dark energy, again, without being triggered by it. With that Lilith energy too, maybe I said this. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, did I say that or not? I think I did say that this was a milestone for the divine feminine energy in all of us. Yes, I did say that. And also this energy is bringing in, with this self-love and compassion, we're more able to be compassionate to other people, to just love and accept people wherever they are, and to see another person's point of view. Again, that comes from balance. Before we're really balanced, other people's point of view, if it differs from ours, is going to trigger us. And you see that right now in the political scene, right? You've got 2 opposing forces, and it's very difficult for many people to see the other person's point of view right now, or to kind of meet in middle ground. But the more that we work through this energy, the more people awaken to it, the more we're able to see other people's perspective and understand their perspective without being triggered by it. Also, at the time of the Virgo full moon, we're going to have Venus making a conjunction with Uranus, and they are going to meet up on the 4th degree of Taurus. And the Sabian symbol for that is a youthful widow, fresh and soul cleansed from grief, kneels at the open grave to receive the secrets of eternal life. Sorry, I was scribbling notes, so I had trouble reading that. So yeah, this goes along with that energy that I'm talking about. A youthful widow, fresh and soul cleansed from grief, right? And moving through that abandonment wound, that triggered a lot of grief in all of us. But now she's kneeling next to a grave and receiving the secrets of eternal life. So we go through the purging, the letting go, the feeling of separation. And when we move through that, again, it brings us into our soul energy, that we are a lot more than this physical body, than this ego, in this life. We are eternal. And with that, we come into a sense of eternal peace. Mercury goes direct on the 9th, the day of the full moon. But I don't feel like it's been too bad of a Mercury retrograde. I don't know about you guys, but it's been good. But remember, Mercury was the only planet that was in retrograde motion. And now we go back to every planet being in forward motion once again until April 25th when Pluto goes retrograde. So we are in another few weeks of accelerated processing. There will be some activations, I feel, coming in during the month of March. I don't feel like they'll be too harsh activations, but probably having to do with DNA clearing, more light being taken in. And so use that self-nurturing energy to take care of yourself. For, February was definitely a month of self-care, and see March as a month of self-care too. Now, one more thing at the Virgo full moon is asteroid union has gone retrograde at the 1st degree of Scorpio, and it's going to be opposing the asteroid Karma and squaring Saturn. So, the energy of Scorpio to me represents, definitely soulmates, but also that divine connection. And it's like union moved into Scorpio, but then it's like, no, you still have karma, you still have lessons, you still have something to clear because, even though we're making a big process, there's still some ways that we aren't feeling this energy of union. So union will go backwards into the sign of Libra, and we'll be looking on breaking more levels of codependency. And again, I think seeing the other person's point of view. That's really important when we're trying to get into a divine partnership, understanding and connecting with how that person is feeling and how they process things. Then on March 19th, we have the spring equinox. This is when the sun moves into Aries. That's the astrological new year. And, every year at this time of year, it brings in an energy of newness, an energy of creativity and manifestation. As I always mention this time of year, the first Sabian of the zodiac is a woman has risen out of the ocean, a seal is embracing her. So as the sun moves on to that degree, it's all about rebirth and transmutation and a new beginning. Now, interestingly, Lilith on the day of the spring equinox is at 5:55 Aries. So there's an indication there that, something has really changed. Of course, the sun will be moving into or is in a square with the nodes at the equinox. And the new moon is going to be a few days later on March 4th. So the sun and the moon, as I mentioned, will meet up on the 4th degree of Aries. And the Sabian, a white triangle is seen. It has golden wings. So reiterating that energy of Chiron and Lilith, ascending, connecting, union. Now the sun and the moon, as I mentioned, they're going to be squaring the nodes. So with that energy, we're beginning to incorporate more of our true, authentic self and being able to follow our own path. Because remember, now we love ourselves more. We're more accepting of ourselves. And we're ready to push ourselves a little bit, to take a step out there to fully express. And sorry, I accidentally disconnected the recording. So as I was saying, yes, we're ready to fully express ourselves. And this new moon in Aries, it's like saying, you know, no one's going to stop me. My family, my partner, society, you can't stop me from being me. And that's going to lead so many of you on to like a new phase of your mission or your ascension experience. So also with the sun and the moon in Aries squaring the nodes, something we'll be releasing has to do with validation. This goes along with what I was just saying. Because in the past, we may have been seeking validation and not allowed ourselves to be who we truly were, because we were trying to please all these people, trying to get their approval, not wanting to create tension in our relationships. And there's something about that that's now changing. Well, we are becoming freer, right? And those planets in Capricorn, not only are they bringing truth, but they're bringing new aspects of our freedom. And I know we'll be talking about that a lot as the year goes on. So also, let me check let's see what's going on at the equinox. Well, we have a conjunction, very tight conjunction of Pallas, Mars, and Jupiter. So again, like when I see that, that's very strong energy of truth and freedom and feeling a desire to move forward on things. Venus and Mars will be making a nice trine, which can be bringing in, you know, that harmony, but that can also bring in this creativity when those two planets are working in harmony together. So also around the time of the Aries New Moon, we have Saturn moving into Aquarius. Now he will travel back into Capricorn during his retrograde, but this will be, you know, with Saturn in Aquarius, we're being more anchored into the Aquarian age, the age of brotherhood and working together and accepting each other's differences. Saturn is going to be coming into a tighter square with Uranus. Both of them are the rulers of Aquarius. Saturn is the traditional ruler, Uranus is the modern ruler. And with those two planets in square, it's really going to be putting the pressure on us to change. Saturn can be the old way, and Uranus is the new way. So what we're needing to do at this time is integrate. It's really about taking the old and transforming it and making it new, making it better. And also, I feel there'll be an element where it'll be easier for us to change. Uranus in Taurus is trying to loosen our grip on our old patterns and the fears, the areas where we're stuck because of past life karma. And with Saturn now moving into Aquarius, I mean, Saturn's been in a square with Uranus, but with this new Aquarian energy as well, it's more about pushing us to change. Now, Mars is coming through there as well. Mars is moving into a conjunction with Saturn, the square with Uranus. Could be a time where anger gets triggered. Could be a time where you might feel some frustration about not being able to move forward. Or it could be, you know, something very unexpected happens that like suddenly pushes you forward. There's a few different ways I'm feeling that energy could play out, but often when Saturn and Mars come together, the energy feels stuck, and it's actually not stuck. It's helping Mars slow down so that you can build a more solid foundation and move forward. But to us, it can feel like we have to stop for a moment, which can be frustrating. All right, so I think that's all that I wanted to talk about. Accelerated motion, I want to reiterate that, barring what I just said about Mars going through Saturn, that won't be, that long of a transit. It's kind of like the Mercury Retrograde, I feel like we had to have this slow down, and maybe just even that feeling of Mars. It's like Mars comes up against a brick wall for a bit that makes you step back and relook at something or take stock of something so that when you do move forward, you're better prepared. So a lot of really nice new energy coming in. As I said, the energy is very freeing. There's so many shifts happening, just allowing us to be true to ourselves. And that's where, 2020, the year of truth, it starts within us. So take care of yourself, nurture yourself. As I said, there might be some activations. There could still be some releasing, some overcoming of fears happening this month. But if you nurture yourself, give yourself compassion and the people around you compassion, I think overall it's going to be a really good month. Thank you so much, guys. Sending you all a lot of love. Happy astrological new year, and I'll speak to you soon.